Hi, I'm Liz Kay, and welcome to Computer Aided Design for Quilters for the absolute beginner. I'm pretty new to computer aided design myself. I've had the Quilt Motion Touch software for about 3 years, but had a lot of trouble using it until recently when I joined the Quilters Creative Touch Facebook page, and Janet George was kind enough to direct me to Peter QP User's YouTube videos. These videos helped me to be able to design some really cool, original, really copied designs for my quilt. But I feel like I can maybe, as an absolute beginner, help those of you who are also just beginning understand the basics to modify designs that have already been made or to start your own design from scratch. This is my Quilt Motion Touch start screen. Many of you have a different start screen, but I think you'll be able to follow along. The key is to get to your computer aided design. And here in Quilt Motion Touch, there are a couple of ways, but my favorite actually is just to use this quilt button here and then cancel because we don't want to pull up a design that's already made. And then up here at the top, there's this button that says PatternCAD. Like I said, you might find that you have a different way to get to your designs, but I like using this particular method because later on it becomes easier for me to find everything that I need. First off, I want you to remember where the unselect all button is. I'm going to mention this several more times. There's no button for it, so you have to find it in the drop-down menus. It's up here under Edit, and then Unselect All. This is a vital button as we're going along. Instead of explaining each button to you, I'm going to go ahead and load up an image, and then we'll do some modifications to it. So up here in the left-hand corner, it says Select Pattern. And let's say that we want to modify a pattern a little bit. We'll choose curly Q over here, and all I have to do is double click it, and it loads on there. Well, I might really like this curly Q, but the way my designs connect, I want this end to go all the way up to here. So if I do nothing else and I try to grab this end and bring it all the way up to here, that works. But it's not the smooth curve that I wanted. So now what do? I looked at this and thought, well, I'll just, select this and maybe pull this over. And I tried a bunch of different things, but I got nowhere. Simply though, Peter in his video showed that when you select both ends of the line that you're interested in, some little boxes or handles show up. These handles move the line in ways however you'd like. So these handles don't show up on every line. They only show up on a specific line type called a spline. A spline is this easy to adjust line that has these two little boxes, and you can move it around like this, or you can move this box around like this. But as you can see, what seemed like a pretty difficult problem initially, how am I going to get that line, that curve to match and be beautiful, was pretty simple by just selecting both ends. And then I can put it wherever I want. If I want to make sure this connects to another design that I have, there's some pretty cool stuff to do that too. So if we want to put another design on here and make sure that the two of them match seamlessly, then all we have to do is go to Layers. We're going to hide this image in the background. So when we hit Layers, it moves this image to the back, and now it can't be adjusted or changed. And what we want to do is connect this to another pattern. Let's say Beanie. So now Beanie is here. And this is where I'm going to show you some problems that I had with this. Beanie is now here, and I would like to connect this end to this end here. So I go to Edit, select All, seems the best idea since that's how I'm going to move things. And I grab this and I try pulling it over, and everything works just fine now when I'm doing this for you. And I can put it so it matches just like that. Oops. Sorry, I lost us for a second here. Now, it doesn't look like the two of these are in scale to me. I'm just moving that around so I can see what's going on. So I'd really like Beanie to be about the same size as this. I've already selected this entire drawing, entire design. So all I have to do is come over here to Size and then use these buttons to make it wider or narrower or taller or shorter. If I tried to do that right now and said, okay, let's make it, I said I wanted it wider, let's make it wider. I can click this along, you see it's barely moving. It's not really enough. I don't really like that. So I can go down here to Step, and this tells me how big of a step each of those sizing moves is going to be. So medium seems kind of nice, right? So let's try making it, oh no. As I'm doing this, instead of my whole design getting bigger, it literally is only getting wider. And that is not what I want. I need the whole thing to be larger and sized properly. In order for that to happen, I want to lock the sizing. This locks the perspective of the sizing so that it all moves the same way. But for a minute here, I'm going to change this back. And this is where the software program is really nice, because all I have to do is keep undoing until I'm back where I want to be. And if I overstep it, that'll be okay too. Oops, I've overstepped it. Then I just go forward one. And that's where I want to be. So now I really want this whole thing a little bit bigger. I want it to move in medium steps. I've got this back where I want it to be, but I want it to be larger in both directions, keeping the perspective. So I come over here to the Lock Perspective or Lock Proportion button, and then when I hit these buttons, my beanie gets larger evenly. Well, it looks about the same size as that, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now though, you can see that I have another problem. My swirly doesn't match my beanie, and I was all worried about connecting this gently around, and I drew this nice new line, but now I have my beanie completely disconnected. It doesn't look smooth, it doesn't look pretty. I'm not happy with that at all. So I need to make some changes. First, I really think the beanie needs to be lower, so I'm going to move it. The button for move is right over here in all of the editing kind of software parts. It's easy to find. The step is still medium, and so I think that's cool. And I'm going to bring my beanie down. And to do that, I'll just use this button. Oh no, but wait. What's happening here? Why isn't this working? Why are these things moving like this? For some strange reason, when you use the move buttons, only the red buttons are moving instead of these handles. The handles are staying in exactly
the same place. This is because the handles at this point are hollow. They're not selected. So let me show you. When I unselect one of the red dots, I end up with little red circles. These blue boxes are unselected. You have to select them in order to get them to be solid. So we kind of have a mess here. And when I end up with a mess, the thing that I like to do is just undo until I get back to where I want it to be. There are times this doesn't work, and we'll talk about that. But for right now, undoing works just fine. And so let's see, we're going to we're going to unselect this, and we're going to select that again. Now, before you saw, I did move this whole thing with just one button, or one touch. So let me show you how I did that. To move it, I just grab one of these selected ones. The whole design kind of lights up, and then I can pull it over, just like that. So now I have design 1 leading right into design 2. I think I said I wanted this lower, and I really do. I don't like it here. I'm going to move it down to here. All right. So now I have design 1, design 2. They're located where I want them to be. They're in the proper proportion. Now it's time to join them together. I don't have any editing buttons on this because this is in the bottom layer, the hidden layer, and I didn't have to worry about it moving when I was trying to move this and resize this. But now I'd like it to come back so that I can join these two ends so that when my quilting happens, it happens in a beautiful spiral and then rolls right into a beanie. So I come over here to the left, and there's this button that says merge. If I click the merge button, then both the layers show up together. At this point, I definitely do not want all of these things selected, because that means pretty much anything I do is going to affect all of the selections over here. So remember that unselect button I showed you? It's up here on the left under edit, and it says unselect. It's the first thing I told you because honestly, it's the most important thing in getting your designs done the way you want them to be. So we have two problems. This is not a nice looking line, and these are not connected. If I go to optimize, which is this button right here in the middle top, I'll show you what I mean. So optimize shows you how your stitches are going to stitch out. And what we have right now is not a continuous line. We can make it a continuous line one of two ways. If I don't mind it being a little herky-jerky, I can just delete this, and the line will, the trim line will not trim, it will just sew through. So now I have one design, it goes like this, up and around like this, but honestly, I'm not real fond of that. So I'm going to hit the reset button, and it gets us back to where we want to be. Be careful with the reset button on the edit screen, because that can delete everything you've worked on so hard. In fact, I haven't mentioned it yet, but right from the start of making designs, I usually start to save them. I make saved designs all the way through because the machine does not automatically do that for you. And you don't want to get to a point where you can't recover the work that you've already done. So right now we're going to animate stitching. It goes like that and up and then skips, and we don't want to break here. So we're going to close this out. We can hit OK here, or we can close the box at the top. Either one works just fine. And we need these two ends to meet. So we're going to bring them together, Oops, I only want to do one. We're going to bring this end to here. Still doesn't look quite the way I'd like it to look, right? It's a little messy. Maybe this needs to be more curved down. Maybe I just need to give that up. So I'm going to select this. So now I have this line selected. And as you can see, even though I have both of these done and there's a curve here, I don't get my handles. There's no place to grab on. The reason that is because I've got the wrong thing selected over here. And we're going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm talking about. Oops, it's over there. Oops, a little overshoot. All right, and so right here we're going to zoom in a little bit more. And again, I don't like this part about the computer program, but overall I really like it. Okay, now that we're zoomed in, you can see the problem. I have two nodes here. One is from the lower string and one is from the upper string. And so when I try to get the boxes to show up on this segment, they weren't showing up because I had the other box highlighted, the node that went down to this line. There are two ways to do this. I can separate them out a little bit and highlight both of them and then do what they call snapping them together. Over here on the left, there are two buttons. One says snap selected, which is what we want to do, and the other says snap ends, which is not what we want to do right at this moment. Just remember for now that to get the two selected nodes to snap together, you want to use snap selected. And this combines them. When I have these snapped and I say snap selected and it tells me this, that usually means that I have another node somewhere that is selected. I could zoom out and find that node and unselect it, but that would be a lot of trouble. The easiest thing for me is to come over here to edit and use that famous unselect all button. Now I'm sure that the only nodes that are going to be selected are the two that I choose. And when I say snap selected, they snap together just like they're supposed to. Once I do this, these are no longer two continuous lines. They've all joined as one continuous line from the spiral into the beanie, just like that. So now I want to zoom out so that I can see what my design looks like. And the way it is now, it's not really that bad. Kind of almost like it. I like that little kickoff that it gives before I come to this, but it still doesn't seem quite right. So we're going to adjust things a little bit. We're still in edit mode. We're going to highlight that one and then move it down a little bit. Maybe even in a little bit. Now I've screwed up my curve here. I'd really like that to look better. So I select so that I have both ends of my line selected. This is a spline, I should say. Both ends of my spline selected. I get my little handles and then I can tuck it in a little bit. Maybe pull it out here a little bit. There we go. Looking a little bit better. Now if I try to move this, I've screwed everything up. It seems horrible, but it's not. The only thing you need to remember here is that there is an undo button. So just click the undo button, get back to where you were. No matter what kind of a disaster you've created, usually you can hit the undo button and get yourself back to where you were. Then figure out what you did wrong. So in this case, I know it's just this node that I need to unselect. But if I was really confused about where the problem was, I'd go back to my old favorite, edit, unselect all, and just start fresh. So I'm going to pick this node again and pull it down a little here. Then select this and adjust this line so it looks like what I'd like. In this case, oh yeah, I was wrong. It doesn't need a little kink here. It just needs a little bit of energy going around. So now we've got the design all connected. I'll show you on Optimize how that all works. It's going to swirl around, come without any kind of break at all, and join up to our beanie. This is the simplest, easiest way that I can think of to show you how to start working with your computer-aided design software. Grab a couple of designs, ones that have a limited number of nodes, and get to work. Thanks for listening.